You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan England, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. If you've heard me talk about one of the biggest challenges in the construction industry right now, you know that it's people, it's labor, it's our workforce. It's not only a crisis, but it's also something that we as individual companies have to do to fix it. There's no industry or nonprofit or college that's going to fix it. We have to take ownership of it. Today's guests are doing just that. I'm your host, Ryan England, and I am excited to talk to the owners, the founders of New Era Construction. They're a small construction management firm just getting going, and they work a lot in the ground up retail space. But you see, one thing that really separates them is the fact that they are putting such an emphasis on culture. And I get it. Some of you are thinking, oh, that's that warm, fuzzy thing we don't like to talk about. But your employees love it. So buckle up, get ready for today's conversation. I want to introduce Zach VanDyke and Nik Dixon of New Era Construction. Zach and Nik, welcome to the show.
How are you?
I'm doing great. So rumor has it that this is one of your first podcasts ever. Is that right?
This is.
So I'm excited for you guys. Podcasting is a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to share you guys' story. So let's just jump in. Tell us a little bit. Tell us, the name of the company and how you guys got started and what you're doing.
Company's New Era Construction. Both have a little bit of a similar start, but I worked for a company for 10 years. Started, sweeping floors, and worked up to being their lead project manager, and was there for 10 years. And it just became a time for me to move on and venture out, and that's how New Era kind of came to be with Nik and I. It's 7 years now in the making, and it's been a good run so far. We've definitely experienced a lot of growth, and it's been a ride. But that's kind of the quick answer to it.
I love it. And you guys do a lot of tenant improvements. That's was your bread and butter for a while, and now you want to get into some larger ground up builds and that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Definitely started off TIs, still do a ton of them. We still love tenant finishes. They're fast paced, you're in and out. And we've gotten good at them over time. We've definitely done ground up stuff throughout the years, but have really focused to push that division or that side of our company a lot more in the years to come. And along with still doing tenant finishes. So yes.
I love that. And I'm gonna ask you guys, because you both look really young to me. Now I know our listeners can't see these guys, but they look really young. He says 10 years in the business. I'm like, really? So you guys are the next generation coming into the workforce, into the trades. And you've got your own company now, and you're growing that up. And I'd imagine that there are some things that you guys have run into some challenges in the industry, but also there's probably some great opportunities you guys are bringing in with just a fresh perspective and a new way of thinking about things. I hear New Era and I think, okay, these guys are on the front leading edge of change in the trades. Can you tell me just a little bit about that? A little bit about the company, your direction, your philosophy for growing a construction company?
Yeah. New Era, that is how we picked the name, right? Working for someone for the 10 years and learned a lot of what not to do also. I also, I want people to enjoy coming to work, right? Mm-hmm. I think in construction, it can be a little bit of a rough industry over time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want that. And I think as it gets harder to get more and more people, as you mentioned earlier, we're slated to lose 40% of the workforce over X amount of years. It's going to get harder and harder to have people. So you got to be able to be flexible, and value who you have, right? So that's what we're hoping to do a little bit differently as time goes on here at New Era to support our growth.
I think that's great. We at Core Matters, we talk a lot about the importance of values and giving people purpose in the work that they do, because it's not like it was 30 years ago where you turn a wrench for 30 years, you get a pension and you ride off into the sunset, right? Like the world is different now. People value experience. They value relationships. They value a place where they feel like they belong. And when I see the next generation coming in and owning companies, I get excited about that, because I think you guys already embrace some of that, just being a little different. It's not your granddad's construction company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we are young, when I said earlier that I had started by sweeping floors, that was fresh out of high school. I'll be turning 35 here in a few months, and it's we're definitely early. But Nick and I think at times feel like we're still behind, but I think that's what gives us the drive to keep pushing and to keep growing, right? So I'll take it.
Yeah. So, Nick, I have a question for you. What are some of the challenges that you guys have seen just in building the company? I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be people related, which is probably a given. But what are some challenges that you've had in starting a new company, thinking fresh about the industry, doing something a little different?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is getting qualified people. As we continue to grow, trying to bring people on that want to be here to stay. A lot of people just want to work for a paycheck, which understandably, but we're trying to grow a business. And like Zach said, we want people to enjoy what they do. So we're trying to build a lifelong opportunity for people, a career. And trying to get those people is very difficult.
Yeah. Best part about being in the trades is the people. Hardest part about being in the trades is the people.
Yes.
That's the reality of it. So what are you guys doing that's a little bit different? Like, how are you guys standing out to attract those great people, overcome that challenges? What have you guys seen that's worked for you?
Try to diversify. We try to work with as many subcontractors as possible, try to broaden our network so that we're not under the thumb of subcontractors controlling pricing and stuff like that. We try to value engineer projects for clients to help meet budgets, put in a lot of pre-construction work to try to give people what they're looking for.
That's great. So as you guys think about this, what are some lessons that you guys have learned over you said 7 years been in business, right? Been in the trades for pretty much your entire adult life.
Yes.
What's like just one of those profound lessons that you wish you would have learned 15 years ago when you started in the trades, that you've learned now? What is something you can share with our listeners?
I think what I would share, I don't know if it's one of those profound things, but, I think for me, anyone listening, especially the younger generation, right, is you have the ability to do anything. You really do. I mean, I moved here. I graduated high school early, and I moved here when I was 17 by myself. And I did start by sweeping floors. I just chose to continue to keep taking on more challenges. So, and here we are today. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's definitely stressful at times, and it can be rough. But I don't know if it's a profound one thing, but the one thing I can tell you is that anything is possible. I'm from a small town in Wellsburg, West Virginia, and I've been able to, I think, be somewhat successful. So that for me, that would be the big thing.
Okay, so really just keep your mind focused on it, keep challenging yourself, keep taking on that next hurdle. Don't fall into a trap of, hey, I found the best subcontractor there is, and we're just going to keep giving him all of our eggs. Right?
Yes, exactly.
That's a problem. So, no, that's great. When I think about the people part of it, I don't know how much you guys know about the work that we do and how deep we go with it, but I love the people side of it, whether that's PMs and estimators, the pre-con team, or even just your field guys, superintendents, the foreman, the craft worker, doing a lot of finishing work. I mean, that's particularly detailed type of work, way different than the stuff that the guys in the excavators are doing, right?
Absolutely. And to get skilled like trim carpenters and real craftsmen, it's becoming almost non-existent anymore. And I'm not saying there aren't good guys out there. There are, but there's definitely starting to be fewer and fewer as time goes on, which good for them. They'll be able to name their price as time goes on. But, it is definitely almost like a dying breed in a sense.
Yeah, and one of the things that we see happening a lot more, it's coming back. It's been around in the trades for a century, but I think for years it was almost easy to find people. But now that as people are aging out, it's getting harder. And so a lot of companies are starting to think back to that apprenticeship program, and what are they doing to train up the next generation? Because frankly, there's not a lot of people training the next generation, right? They're training them enough to put them in the field and call it a day, but they're not actually giving them the skills.
Yeah,
they're not
warm
teaching
bodies,
them,
as we like to call them at times.
Yeah, they're not giving them the skills to think. Like, how do you lead? How do you grow in your career? And I see that a lot of apprenticeship programs are missing out on that. And that's something that I think is desperately needed inside of the industry. So when I see younger guys in the trades, I get excited because I know that purpose and belonging and some of that culture stuff is really important to you as well. Not to throw you into a stereotypical bucket, but I think that's usually what I see is that's way more important than just the paycheck. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when we see apprenticeship programs that are built around culture, belonging, leadership, the stuff that you can't learn in the field, we're seeing people have really great success with that. But it takes time.
Very much so.
You close that new job and you're like, we got to mobilize in 3 weeks. You don't have time to train a finish carpenter. You're done. So what are you guys seeing just in the industry in your area? You guys are out in Colorado. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What are you guys seeing out there in Colorado? What are some of the things that are, you're planning for that are on the horizon for you guys out there?
Are you talking work-wise or just a general?
Yeah, like what is it that you guys are planning for? Whether it's how do we get more ground up work? How do we start self-performing more? Or, hey, you know what? We've got to start planning for the fact that 40% of these guys are retiring in the next decade. Like, what are the things you guys are thinking about? And what are some of the ideas that you have on how to stay ahead of that?
Yeah, I think for us as we've grown, it's a forever changing thought process. We don't, as when it comes to people as we grow, one of the biggest things I think for him and I, as we've expanded, is can we keep the growth and expansion going, on all these people, and then it's really on us to keep the workload coming. So what we've tried to do and what we continue to try to do is be versatile. If we bring on people and maybe we're not self-performing as much, and things slow down a little bit for us for a month or two, we try to bring on people that we want them to know how to do everything. Our guys, we try to teach them how to, from demo to framing to flooring to putting equipment together for some of the restaurants. I mean, you have to be, we force our guys to be versatile. And that is what helps, I think, in our success of our growth, is because we don't constantly have this influx of a lot of people and then slow down and let guys go. We just change our model for the time that we're in. and we do other things. And it helps. So when we get busy again, then it kind of changed back to, okay, we're not going to self-perform as much. We're going to spread the guys out a little bit, and we're going to manage more. So I think that's our big thing as with growth and how we manage people on that side. And, as far as trying to get more ground up work and continue to keep growing the company, it all comes down to relationships for us. We like working with people. We do a lot of fast casual. We work for a lot of big brands that do multiple locations. And we value those relationships because they're not a one and done client. We're going to do 10 locations here in the state, and we want you to do all of them. So I think focusing on those kind of relationships long term are big to our growth and our success.
Just to sum up what I heard is, you guys are a small team, but you're a tight-knit team. You're flexible. You can be agile and adjust with the market, but you also got this big, long picture thinking of how do I build those strategic relationships that give me 10 ground ups versus just that one TI project that's done in 6 weeks, right? You're actually thinking for the long term. What do you guys, you guys have been doing this for 7 years. You've been successful. You've got some great projects under your belt. Let me ask you a personal question. I'm going to ask for both of you. And for those of you that are listening right now, yes, Nik is still on the call. He's just a quiet, shy guy.
Yeah,
so
I'm the shy guy. Zach's the people person for us.
So I'll let Nik start with this one, but tell us a little bit about you guys personally. Like, how do you guys manage the work-life balance? Do you have families? Like, tell me a little bit about that. Give us some hope that we can have a successful construction company and still manage all of that. Nik, I'll let you go first.
I will tell you the work-life balance is a very difficult thing to achieve. Especially as you're trying to grow your company. It's how bad do you want to grow it? And admittingly for myself, it's something that I struggle with, the work-life balance. Getting better at it. But it is definitely difficult. Try to not work so much and try to be done at, 5 o'clock, a reasonable hour. And enjoy the rest of my day. That's something that I've struggled with for the last couple of years. And that also kind of boils down to trying to get the right people to bring in the right people. It's been difficult.
Yeah. People you can trust so you can turn it off at 5 and then wake up the next morning and know they didn't burn the place down.
Exactly.
That's what we're after right there. So is that one of the things you do is to focus on that work-life balance, just be a little more intentional about it, is 5 o'clock, turn it off best you can so that you can go enjoy the rest of your day?
Yep. And that's something that I have to really force myself to do, it'll be here tomorrow, unless it's a tight deadline to get a bid submitted for a project. It'll always be there tomorrow.
I tell people that all the time. One of the advantages to being the owner is that anything I didn't get done today, it'll be waiting for me tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it'll still be there.
Yeah, you might have some hate mail from some angry clients or something, but it'll still be there tomorrow.
But I would say I've never seen it happen, frankly, but the business will not burn down if you can't get to it fast enough. So how about you, Zach? What are you doing in that arena, that work-life balance and just being able to manage all of this?
Yeah, the stress of it at times, it gets to be, real rough. And I think over time, there was plenty of years where, we thought it was, admirable to go ahead and work 7 days a week, 14, 15, 16-hour days. And no one's going to outwork us. And, at an early part of our career, it was. However, I've tried to really focus on the last, we'll say 24 months, that if you want to grow a company, the cliche, you got to quit working in the company and work on the company. And that it is true. Once you get to a certain point, you can't just be a worker bee inside the company. You have to step out of it a little bit and let the company run on its own. Not fully, you're always going to have to be involved, right? But to try to actually step away, I think for me, I had to almost fully pull myself away because as we implemented superintendents and project managers and office managers into this company, for a while, everyone still wanted to just bypass them and come to us.
Sure.
And you almost have to completely go, hey, I'm not involved. Don't call me. This isn't my deal. And that's rough. That's a hard thing to do. And I'll admit for myself, for the first year of it, I almost felt lost a little bit because I kind of lost what my purpose was, because I was so used to doing all the things to where I sometimes I know what's going on, obviously, in my business, but there's small things that happen day to day that I don't even have any clue of anymore. And that's the hope that you get to and the goal that you get to. But it's definitely a big transition period. But that is my long-winded of, how we've done to try to curb, not working 24 hours a day and reducing the stress.
Yeah. And that there's a lot of validity to that, working in the business versus on the business. I find that a lot of owners, though, they kind of blur the definition of on the business. And they're like, well, I'm talking to customers like that's on the, no, it's not on the business. Yeah. You're working in the business. But no, that's great. So, I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I love the vision. I know that you guys are just getting started into sharing your story a little bit more, sharing what it is that you guys do over there at New Era. How do people learn more about you? How do they discover a little bit more about Zach and Nik? Like, how do they connect with you?
Yeah. So for me, I think this is going to be one of the things as we grow that I gotta work on is I love meeting people. I love sitting down and talking to people and telling them our story and our goal and building relationships that way. The hope is over time that our company speaks for itself a little bit without us having to do, per se, a sales pitch, right? You can see the people that we work for, you can see the work that we've done, the amount of work that we've done. And I hope that starts to speak for itself a little bit without us just having to go out and sell ourselves. If that makes sense.
So how do people learn about you? Website address? You guys on any social platforms?
Yeah,
share that with our listeners.
A website we're working on a little bit more to try to make that a little bit more of you can come in and potentially ask questions or see what we're working on at the time. And we do have some social media where we've been a little non-existent on it. We don't post as much as we should and aren't as active as we should, but it is there.
All right. Well, we'll fix that. And we'll make sure that any of the links that we can find, we will have in the show notes for our listeners. Nik, Zach, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, being a little vulnerable about what you guys are going through over there at New Era. Really enjoyed having you guys on the show today. Yeah, and I look forward to speaking with you guys soon.
Thank you.
Ryan England here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.